Welcome to Wait, What Do You Do Again? I'm your host, Megan DeFord, and I'm so excited for our conversation today with Brooke Kaplan. Before we get into it, rate, review, subscribe, leave a comment. It really helps people find this podcast, and we're trying to grow the community. You can also continue the conversation over on Instagram at Meg DeFord, TikTok at Meg DeFord. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for listening. And now let's meet Brooke. She's the Director of HR Compliance and Human Capital Initiatives at Worldwide Clinical Trials, a running coach with Team RunRun, and someone who's completed 7 marathons, seven, while living with type 1 diabetes. She describes her mission simply to inspire people, especially women, to do hard things. Oh, we love that. Today, we are talking about what that really means, how she balances a demanding career with coaching and endurance sports, and what running has taught her about confidence, resilience, and trusting yourself. Welcome. I am so excited for you to be here today. And you are the Director of HR Compliance and Human Capital Initiatives. What does that mean?
Sure. Yeah. So I work at a company called Worldwide Clinical Trials. They are a clinical research organization. So if you have a biotech company or pharmaceutical company that needs to do their clinical trials, they can outsource it to a CRO and we help get it done.
Cool.
I work on the HR team, or the people strategy and culture team, as we call it. And I'm the Director of HR Compliance. So I kind of joke that I'm not a lawyer, but I'm legal adjacent. So I'm living in labor law. We do business in about 50 different countries. So I am in multiple countries, labor laws on any given day. What are we doing? What are we not doing? And I was a career civil servant for 8 years, also working in HR, worked in federal contracting for a couple of years as well, and then moved into this.
So are you making sure that your practices for the company are in compliance with different labor laws and okay, cool. And have you seen, and throughout the course of your career, have you seen certain challenges come up, or have there been big changes that you've seen recently?
It's really interesting because a lot of my career was in the federal government, and that's a whole laws are laws, right? But the bottom line is different because now really being in the company that I'm working for now is also PE backed. So you're talking about really focusing on profits and what the bottom line is and risk assessments, things like that, as compared to, yeah, there's a law, we have to do it, period, full stop. So there's definitely things that come up that my first react, and this has been a change in mindset for me that I have to really get into, that risk assessment mentality or prioritization mentality, because we can't do all the things all the time to make sure we are fully compliant at any given time, especially when you also talk about business growth or reduction at the same time. Where are we going to put our resources? And that's part of the conversation that I have with the rest of the HR team, but also with the business leaders.
And have there been any laws or policies that have surprised you that you're like, whoa, either how is that legal, or like, oh, I wish we had that here?
There's plenty here that we don't have. I'm sure people can guess on those. No, but it actually is really interesting when you start digging in and you get a more global mindset, which is also really interesting because you realize how US mindset, or how narrow-minded a lot of people are, US-centric people are, because they don't think about all of these other rules and regulations around the world. But I was just talking to somebody a little while ago about this. Like, we have somebody who was out on maternity leave for a year because that is the norm. Pay transparency laws, and we're seeing pay transparency laws come up in the US as well, but there may be higher penalties around the world. Other different types of protections, or just the courts are more friendly towards employees. So again, not a lawyer, but trying to make sure that any guidance that I'm giving is before we get to the lawyer.
Yeah.
Before we're getting sued by somebody, and working very closely with legal along with it. But yeah, there's definitely stuff that comes up every day that it's like, who knew?
Yeah. I always think of the French and like how like, if you email me on the weekend, I'm suing you. And I'm like, you know what? Like, good for them.
You're using France as the example, but there's a couple countries that do have these like laws that are the right to disconnect. Like, you are not to contact someone after hours, or they have the right to deny it. denying answering the phone, whatever. And really, again, manager training, making sure people know what they're talking about. And there's another thing that comes up regularly.
I'm curious, and it's okay if you don't have this or if you just have it anecdotally. Like, I feel like one of the conversations we have in this country, especially recently, is burnout, which, like, I just did an episode on this and I didn't realize burnout is the symptom of like disorganization at an organization. And that could be a company, it could be like within a family. Do you find that your colleagues internationally are experience burnout or are talking about this? Like, is it across the board or is it an American thing from your
No,
experience?
no, I think it's definitely international as well. There's one of the big projects that I have been working on is looking at timekeeping and overtime regulations. This is
Mhm.
again for several years been looking at this. And what I will definitely say is that again, international laws, non-US laws are much more friendly.
Mhm.
So I think that there's assuming you're doing it right, people are more willing to put the time in because they're getting paid for those hours in a lot of cases, as
Mhm.
compared to here, where again, like exempt and non-exempt and FLSA laws, you're just expected to work whatever hours for the most part once you get to certain levels. So yeah, you have no reward other than having a job
Right.
on top of course, the medical system and all the other things that, come along with an American job and working lots of hours for that American job as compared to working for a non-US job. So
Yeah.
yes, I think it does exist, maybe not to the same level though.
So the other side of your life is professionally is a run coach. So like I want to hear
Yeah.
more about that and how you fit it all in together. So when did you actually start coaching for running?
So I started coaching 2 years ago, and it's been really as a side hustle, so to say.
Mhm.
I got my cert to coach for myself, first and foremost. I figured anything I'm learning is going to make me a better runner. And then
Mhm.
if I ever coach anyone, it will just be icing on the cake.
Mhm.
So yeah, I decided to do it 2 years ago. I've taken on a couple of clients here and there, and I'm
Mhm.
coaching two athletes right now. One doing the Sydney Marathon at the end of August, and the other one doing the New York City Marathon in November, which is also really exciting because I did New York last year. So I have this sort of personal connection and excitement for it. On top
Yeah,
of Sydney,
of course. How many marathons have you run?
I have run 7.
Okay.
I am training for my 8th.
And the other question that I have, I'm curious because we do very different types of coaching, but a lot of it is mindset and a lot of it is overcoming limitations that we put on ourselves. I love that you're like, we can do hard things. What do you find people come to you for? And then as you're working with them, you realize outside of sort of the physical, like what they actually need.
Yeah, so I'm going to focus on the two athletes now because they're the primary ones. So I'm also a type 1 diabetic, and they are also both type 1 diabetic. And so there's sort of a challenge that comes along with that. But they are also, this is the first marathon, but they had also both run halves before.
Mhm.
So, and I'm sure you can appreciate the mentality then of like you go from the half and then you have to get to a full, and that is intimidating.
Yeah.
So, really working through that mindset, especially in summer training, the heat is real and makes things definitely more difficult. So, yeah, there's the physical aspect of it, but running in particular is a mental game as well. And I think it's very similar to what you're talking about. It's one thing to say, just like go do the action, whatever the action is, whether it's running or whatever. And it's another to really be invested in it and have the confidence that you can complete it. So, a lot of the conversations that I've been having are take a look back at all the work that you've done. And I do this with myself too. It's a good reminder, even as I'm coaching them, that I'm kind of re-coaching myself, that you show up and yeah, sure, you do the miles day after day. You did the run today, you do the run tomorrow. But when you add it all up, it's hundreds of miles over months and hours of work that you've put in. And you did all of that.
Yeah.
When you show up consistently, and that's what I keep kind of reminding them.
You were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when you were 19. And so you're in college. We went to the same place. I have a story about that. But like that season of your life and getting that diagnosis, how did that impact or not impact how you saw moving forward with your future? And like, how did you manage it at that age? Because it's young. I mean, you're a young adult, but you're young.
Yeah, I coming from my own personal life experience, everyone has their own opinion. I think that getting diagnosed at 19 is incredibly difficult because you're just learning how to adult sort of for
Yeah.
yourself. I was like just in my first apartment on campus, like cooking for myself for the first time. But I'm also incredibly stubborn. And I guess this has gone through into my adulthood. I thought I had mono because that's what happens in college, right? And they ended up telling me, you have a UTI, you have a kidney infection, and by the way, you're diabetic, go to the hospital. I was literally at the on campus health center, and Zach, who was my boyfriend, now husband, was actually the one that took me to the hospital. And from there, apparently they normally keep you in the hospital for a week to make sure you're comfortable. And after 24 hours, I told them, if you don't take this IV out of my arm, I'm going to take it out myself and send me home and on my way. So they basically, I had to prove that I could take my insulin, that I would take my insulin. And, I was educated enough. And basically, I also said to my parents, like, go home. I got this. We got this. And and my brother happened to be on campus as well. So he was at least nearby as a good resource as well. But yeah, so that has really, for a while, I didn't want diabetes to define me. Everybody knew, but it wasn't something that I like wanted it to be who I am. But I think now later in life, and especially as we get in like conversations about like running and even my
Yeah.
professional life, like this is a big part of my life. It does make things more challenging. So I'm very open and honest and
Yeah.
educate about it to the extent that I can.
Yeah. And so you started doing endurance sports in 2016. So
That's correct.
how did you approach it? Were you at all like, I don't know, were you scared or were you just like, I can imagine you being like, okay, I'm going to find out the information and just go do it. Like, how did you approach that?
So I had always been kind of into fitness occasionally, but I never considered myself an athlete. I was living in the DC area at the time. And she invited me to participate in the Virginia Wine Country Half. And they were raising money for the JDRF, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, like it's my cause. It's for, again, diabetes. So it's literally because of my diabetes that I started endurance running. And I ended up raising $2,000, which was great. But when I signed up for that first race, I didn't know if I could do it. And I think the cutoff time, it was in treadmill paces. So it was like a 5.2. I would have to go on a treadmill in order to meet the
Mhm.
cutoff time. And I literally got myself on treadmill for an hour at a 5.5 just to prove that I could do an hour. And then I would train myself from there. So yeah, I mean, I kind of grabbed the bull by the horns, but it was more like, let me be semi cautious to know that I can even do it. But because I knew I was doing it for the diabetes, it was from there. Did the first half, and then that same friend looked at me and said, well, you did one, you may as well do another one. So then she looked at me after the second one and was like, well, 1 and 1 equals a full. So you may as well do a full.
That is
So
some runner's math right there. That is some major runner's math.
that was legitimately how I did my first full. My first full was Marine Corps in 2019.
Wow.
And if anyone wants to go back and look for videos of it, it was a torrential downpour for the first 20 miles, which then turned into bright and sunshiny and like 80 degrees for the last 6 miles, which is lots of chafing for
Yeah.
6 miles. And I had never run outside. I had never run in the rain because I did all that training on the treadmill because that was what I knew. So that was 2019. And then, of course, COVID happened. No racing. Swore I would never do a race again because germs and diabetes and the whole COVID thing. And then I moved to Florida in October of 2021 and I found She Runs This Town. And that group got me racing again. And that kind of spiraled again.
It's so wild to think that at one point you were like, I'm not going to race again. Like hearing your story, it's so interesting.
It's really incredible though, because this is another message that I really try to, because like, people see the runner or the person that you are in this exact moment,
Mhm.
and they don't realize where you've been or the struggles you've been through or all of the work that you've put in. So, yeah, like that first marathon or even that first half marathon was significantly slower than it was. And it doesn't matter what the pace, it's not the point.
Right.
But the point is that I've trained really hard over the last 10 years to get to be the runner that I am today, the
Mhm.
athlete that I am today, to then be confident enough to also coach people
Yeah.
to build their confidence as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just because like I said, I was never an athlete growing up. So I started from somewhere and then I built and built and built and built.
Built up. And then, so how do you need to prepare for your training and your races with type 1?
I've been thinking about this a lot over the last couple of days. And what I don't think people, and this goes to again, like you see only what's in front of you.
Right.
It's hard. And some diabetics have it a little bit easy, meaning they have better control.
Mhm.
Uh, but on almost every run, I'm either shooting up or I'm dropping. I missed one of my goals in one of my races a couple of years ago because my blood sugar shot up way too high and I didn't have my insulin on me. And I ended up completely cramping up because my body was like, what is going on? Same thing. Like if I start dropping, the way that I can sort of describe it is like, you feel like you're drunk, but that you're going to black out. It takes time. Like I have to always have an extra gel on me, always have to have the extra fuel. There's a level of panic of if you are dropping and you don't have something on you, like where can I stop? It's always another decision that has to be made that a non-diabetic runner has to worry about. And then if you are dropping meaning your blood sugar is dropping. It's like focus on what's in front of you, like one foot in front of the other, in front of the other until you're okay,
Yeah.
or stopping until you are okay. So, the other day I was out for a run and had to stop at like 3.5 miles and I just sat on the curb for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's again, people don't see that. And this is also like you can look on Strava or on somebody's social media and you see, oh yeah, they're running, they ran tons of miles this week, but you're not understanding all of the other sort of challenges. And that's again, everybody's got their challenges. I don't mean to diminish anyone
No.
else's, but that's just the reality of running with diabetes.
Yeah. Until I met you, I never thought about it. I was just like, oh, like she runs and, whatever. And
Yeah.
like, oh my God, of course your body is reacting. But have there been any moments that have been scary, or is it just something that you anticipate, you deal with, and you just move through?
I think there's scary maybe every once in a while. I think at this point you're more or less used to it.
Mhm.
I think it's more like a frustration of like, really, we're going through
Yeah.
this again.
Yeah.
The other piece of it is other two pieces of it, really. There's so many pieces to it as I'm thinking through this. It's not just what you eat. So it's not just, oh, I had my bagel now and it's too close to the run. Everybody has to fuel, but there's a timing piece to it just from the fueling aspect. But it's also, is it too hot? Is it too cold? And one of the things that I was really thinking about is as a woman, it also is impacted by where I am in my cycle. So my insulin sensitivity changes. So that means I have to take more or less insulin throughout the month,
Mm.
which also means that what I think I have to take could change. So now I could be going higher because I estimated too little or I estimated too much. And now again, I'm completely out of whack.
Yeah.
And the last kind of comment that I'm thinking about is also sleep,
Mhm.
right? Like we all know as runners, if you are a runner, that sleep is critical. And if I can't just put myself to sleep and say, okay, I'm going to get my 8 hours and that's going to be that. If I again go high or if I go low overnight, my phone is beeping at me.
Yeah.
So I don't always get that full whatever amount of hours simply because I can't. I have to go take care of it.
It's a lot. I was thinking about spiking or dropping during different parts of your cycle. Like, I think every woman runner or athlete has had that where you're like, why do I feel like shit? And you're like, oh, because I'm about to. But with training, there's a certain amount of miles you've got to get in that to balance the two of making sure that you're healthy and okay and taking care of yourself and getting the miles in is a really different experience.
Did I mention that I'm stubborn? No, but it's really, I think that having a goal in front of me has
Mhm.
really helped. So over the course of the last couple of years, again, I've gotten better at running. I've become a more educated runner and my times have gotten better. So now I have sort of stricter time goals.
Mhm.
And I know that if I don't get myself out for that run, one way or the other, that my goals I could miss my goals. And I
Mhm.
don't want it to be that I did it to myself. I'd rather get out there. There may be some form of compromise,
Sure.
right? Like I've gotten on a treadmill and run 18 miles or 20 miles at 9 o'clock at night sometimes, like
Yeah.
just to get it in one way or the other. But it is, getting it in. And my husband is extremely supportive with it, with the diabetes, but also with the running. And
Mhm.
that is, you have to have your community to help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you do any other, I mean, how would you have time, but do you do any other endurance sports?
I did High Rocks this year. I did
Oh,
High Rocks
wow.
Miami, and I'm doing double. So that was a solo, and I'm doing High Rocks Tampa in October.
Cool.
Yeah, which I I think it's just so important. It's not, I think we all, again, all know strength training is so important.
Mhm.
And I was kind of using High Rocks as an excuse to keep my strength training up
Mhm.
because otherwise, again, it gets very easy to just fall into I just have to get the miles in, I just have to do it, and I'm not trying to get injured.
Yeah.
The strength training helps.
Yeah, especially as we age. And like actually with that, like have you found that you're managing your diabetes with running differently as you age? Like has it changed?
I think it does go back to just learning more about like as you get older, you have more life experience as a general statement
Yeah.
and understanding what your body is doing as a general statement. So I can feel it. Even the symptoms of a high and a low have
Mhm.
changed over the years. So, as an example, I used to shake really heavily when I would be low, or
Mhm.
my lips would go numb when I was low. And now I maybe sweat more profusely. But those are all kind of normal symptoms, but they've changed over the years as to what am I getting now. Again, depending on the level of like strength training and other cross training that we're doing and just learning more about like I know that if I do a hit run or like a really difficult fast run, I'm probably going to spike because I understand that my body is breaking down the sugar differently than
Mhm.
if I'm doing just a steady state, easy run, which is burning more fat and all of the other science behind it. But that becomes a little bit more, again, life experience and understanding what your body is doing and how your body processes it, whether you're diabetic or not, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Diabetes is just a fun experiment on a day to day basis of like really understanding because you have real time data of what your body is doing and how you're processing in a
Yeah.
not always positive way.
And so the women, well, the runners that you're training, that you're coaching, were they experienced? Like, how has their journey been? And I'm sure it's so nice to have someone who just gets it, like, totally understands.
I mean, again, every diabetic kind of has a different experience only because one, our bodies are different, and two, it's also what technology you use.
Mhm.
Meaning, like, I still use shots, pens, and I wear a CGM here,
Mhm.
a continuous glucose monitor. If you use a pump, you have maybe a different level of control. And I have just chosen not to do that for myself yet.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, they have their own versions and I actually the second one found me through the first one, so they already knew each other. So yeah, there's a
Yeah.
level of like understanding. The other day one of them contacted me and said like, yeah, I had to stop midway through the run for 20 minutes and I was just sitting there trying to get a low under control. And that is just the reality. Like I can understand and appreciate that for her to say like, yeah, you had to go and take care of that because taking another step is impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also curious, what keeps you going back to running? Like, it's certainly there's this challenge to it. and an added challenge that I bet a lot of people are like, you know what, forget it. I don't want to deal with it. Like, what is it about running that keeps you going and keeps you coaching?
I feel like the diabetes at the end of the day is really my why.
Mhm.
I mean, I could go out and do any other sport if I really wanted to, but I really love to prove to myself that I can. And
Mhm.
when I finish any run, really, I have a really big sense of pride.
Mhm.
I'm very proud of myself, and I'm very proud of my athletes as well. I can't wait for them to complete their first marathons and like
Yeah.
come back, and even their other races and their other runs. But there's just such a sense of pride that one, I can do it, period, but two, that I can do it as a diabetic,
Mhm.
and that just to prove to myself that I can do hard things, that my family might think I'm insane, but it works for me. And I feel really good that I've gotten better and smarter, and that I understand it a little bit more. So I like seeing what my body can do, both as a diabetic and as a just a human, and like
Yeah.
how far can we push it?
Yeah. I am going to step in if you are ever like, I'm climbing Mount Everest. I'm stepping in at that point. So the other question that I have, and you just brought it up, is the do hard things. I love that. Like, I love that this is part of your mission that you can do hard things, people can do hard things, especially women. And like,
Yeah.
on that part of it as women, like, why is that so important to you? And why do you think, I think women are extraordinary. Like, I just think that
Yeah.
we're incredible for a lot of reasons. But why do you think so many women doubt themselves or have imposter syndrome? And, maybe that's not a fair question to ask, but like, how do you see it applying in your life with others? And yeah, just what does that mean to you?
I mean, I just feel like we culturally, societally, we're taught that we are less, or that there's certain expectations of us from an early age. I also have three nieces who are 7, 5, and 2, and I'm very mindful of how I speak to them. And there's actually a book, Runs Like a Girl. One of the things that really stood out to me in the book was talking about how girls don't have, number one, good female coaches, good female coach role models starting from middle school, that most of the coaches end up being men. And that just becomes a whole other challenge because you don't see yourself. And then the other thing that stood out to me was like, again, as girls hit puberty, boys just continue on with their lives. Yes, they have hormones that are coursing through their bodies, but that girls literally have like mounds growing on
Yeah.
their chest, and they're dealing with how other people are looking at them differently, how they're looking at themselves differently, and then just the physical labor of moving their bodies differently.
Yeah.
And they're still just expected to be like the boys and just keep it moving.
Yep.
And like you said, like we go through our cycles our whole lives, and we're just expected to like pretend like nothing's happening. So I agree, like women are just extraordinary, and I want women to know that they are and really appreciate everything. And then also demand more of the men in their lives, right? That they can be independent women, but they can also be know that the men in their lives will support them as well.
And have empathy and understanding
Yeah.
around the different challenges. And not that men don't have challenges. I think that's one of the misnomers about this is people think that when you're asking for that consideration and that
Yeah.
equity, that somehow you're ignoring or depleting the other person that you're asking it for. And that's not what we're saying. I coach my daughter's soccer team and she's getting into middle school years. And we see a precipitous drop off just nationally of girls playing sports once they hit like 12, 13, like that time when girls are going through puberty, getting their periods.
Yeah.
And I just, as long as she'll let me coach, I will, because I think it's so important for these girls to see a woman coaching. And I grew up with incredible male coaches and teachers and role models, and they never, ever made the girls feel like they couldn't do it, that they were ever less than. And so I love what you're saying too about like, I would encourage men who are like, yeah, we get it. Like, be vocal about it. Show up physically, be vocal about it. But it's interesting too. And I'm curious what you think about this, because I think running in particular, like you get into this mindset of like, if you're not quote unquote fast, whatever fast is for you,
Yeah.
oh, I shouldn't even try it. Right. And I think so many times the women that I've worked with, the women I've been in previous phases of my life, I have shied away from hard things because I'm like, well, what if I can't do it well? And we get
Yeah.
into that conversation versus like, let's approach it for the experience. Like, let's see what we can do
Yeah.
versus we have to be the best at it.
And I love the running community so much exactly for this reason
Mhm.
because yeah, if you go and you look on social media, you can find any kind of influencer that is going to make you feel bad about it. Right?
Yeah.
But that's really for any topic as well.
Yeah.
But then you actually go into the running community and you can find a run club in most cities that will support and whether you're fast, whatever your goals are. And everyone is so generally welcoming
Mhm.
that, and there's no limiter, right? Like if you're a beginner runner, you just put your shoes on and you get going.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started, right? Like you set a goal, whether it's run for 5 minutes and then run for 10 minutes, and then you build from there. And that's what I think is really important. And that's again where I go back to like, just because you see me running a marathon now in X time, you have to start somewhere, but you have to start.
Yeah.
And I also, because we were talking about younger girls and we're talking about kind of our age,
Mhm.
but there's also then later in life, the women that underestimate their abilities just because they're also then getting older and they
Right.
think they're not capable anymore. And I want to fight that so strongly because you want to live fully
Mm.
independently for as long as possible and just kind of falling into, well, I can't. I've
Right.
never tried is like such a dangerous mentality, I think. And not just because of like feminism and how like we deal with men or independence, but literally as we get into our older years and being able to continue moving.
Yes. Yeah. From a physical perspective and also that mental perspective of like, and I in my previous life and working with donors, like I would see it with older donors who would live these like unbelievable lives. And then when they got into their 60s, 70s, 80s, the ones who you wouldn't even know their age other than like, the well-worn, well, they stayed active, they continued to travel, they tried new things, they appreciated someone who was 16 as much as someone is their own age, right? And like just ate up life versus those who like physically slowed down,
Yeah.
much less like just stopped exploring the world around them, like really getting stuck in your own ways. So I think that's hugely important. And running for me, I didn't really get into until I needed to find people, friends when I moved to South Florida. And
Yeah.
I had always been an athlete, team athlete, and like running was a punishment. So like I laugh that I'm a runner now. And it meets you where you are, and I think that's what's so cool. I love the community. I love that you go to races and you see every body type, every age, every speed, everything, right? And I look back at I've had some really fast races. And right now I'm in a walking phase, and I have to run less now to strength train because I'm 43. It's different. And I love where it meets you where you are. And it's such a good metaphor for life. Just be where you are and make the adjustments you need to make. Like it, it's not good, it's not bad. It just is. Like,
This
yeah.
is the benefit of working with a coach is that you get someone who can meet you where you are in
Mhm.
working on building a plan kind of instead of just finding something off the internet or
Yeah.
using AI or whatever the case may be. For me, Fridays are my rest day. Today's Friday, and I take my rest day really seriously. But if you don't know how to take rest, or you think that you need to be out there every single day, or on the alternative, you know, you're only going to go out 3 days a week, you might get to that start line and you might complete the race, but you're probably not going to feel great when you're doing it, depending on what your goals are.
Yeah.
Meeting yourself where you are and giving yourself grace, whatever that may look like. So again, for me, I'm trying to just stay injury free,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I can get to my next race and meet my next goals. So I take my rest very seriously, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
And I'm curious, like for your particular coaching, do you have to be in person? Is it remote? Like, how do you manage
It
that?
is 100% remote. So I coach
Oh, cool.
through a company called Team RunRun. So they set up all of the back end logistics. So, the athlete and I can just work on the coaching together. I'm available essentially 24/7. Please don't message me at the middle of the night.
Approach it like we're in France. No.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but it really depends on how much an athlete needs the support. Again, using my two current as an example, one is more regular communication and the other is not necessarily as regular, and it's whatever they need in how I can support and make them feel good and confident and make sure that we're aligned on what the plan is. Because we're remote, I also don't know their schedule, their personal schedule. I don't know their landscape. Again, for me, I'll go and do 20 miles on a treadmill because I'm crazy like that. Some people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to do that. But what is realistic with the summer, with the weather, whatever the case may be, how can I make sure that their schedule, that I'm planning and helping them with their schedule based off their mile goals, the days of the week goals, things like that, to be more individualized.
Yeah. I love that it's remote. I think that's so cool. And it takes away so many barriers, right? Like, especially having a coach with type 1 diabetes, like, I can't imagine that's the most common thing. So, like, being able to have access to you wherever you are, wherever they are, I mean,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's really great.
It's really interesting because even if it's not type 1, I think the point is that it's understanding a medical condition or any kind of physical barrier. It doesn't have to be necessarily diabetes, but I just generally think I have a different appreciation for every run's not going to go perfect. Like, everybody knows that, but there's a quite literal physical challenge that we're overcoming. So whether it's diabetes or something else, there's just, again, a different kind of appreciation that I think I bring to the table in the
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I have a couple like sort of fast, quick fire questions for you. Have you had a favorite marathon?
Oh, Philly was my favorite, I think. So I'm originally born and raised outside of Philly, and Philly was where I had my first Boston qualifier.
Cool.
And when I crossed that finish line, I like broke down crying because I realized that I had done it, and I wasn't expecting it. So I was really, really excited about that.
And then what is the marathon that you're like, I cannot wait to race that one?
There's so many. I actually have a note on my phone of like all the marathons that I want to complete. I want to complete all of the world majors. And as I'm going along, I'm kind of doing the 50 states along with it. So I have Berlin is my next marathon. That's number 8 in September. So September 27th. And that'll be my first international race. And that is also a world major. So just, checking the boxes as we're going along. But yeah, I have a whole note on the states that I want to do and the races I want to do them and goals.
That's awesome. And what is your favorite post-race meal?
I'm going to have to go back to the diabetes because it really depends on where I'm at. It's really interesting because a lot of the time, if my body hasn't fully processed the last gel yet, I get a big spike. Normal blood sugars are like 80 to 120. I'll be well over 300 within 20 minutes after the end of a race. And that's with adrenaline and with gel kind of still processing. So where most runners finish a marathon and they grab that banana or they're at that pancake, whatever, I'm just trying to get my life under control and then, worry about the meal after. But I will take that post-marathon beer if there's one available.
I love it. That's great. Do you have a favorite shoe?
No, I am working through them. I've tried a whole bunch and nothing's like my favorite necessarily.
Gotcha. And do you run with music, no music, podcasts? What are you doing on 20 miles on a treadmill?
I will plug Peloton. I have been using Peloton for 6 years now. Again, that was even before I did my first full, maybe something like that. But I find their classes to just be really helpful, especially when I am on a treadmill, but also for their outdoor runs and stretching and yoga and all of the things. But otherwise, I do a lot of music. I do Latin, EDM, anything like high energy, high beat per minute, which helps with the cadence and all of that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah. And you just saw Diplo recently.
I just saw Diplo. Beat him in the 5K.
I love it. That's so awesome. And I want to circle back just a little bit about we can do hard things.
Yeah.
And you saying like there isn't a post race meal that you can go to because you've got to figure out where you are and like you said, get your life under control. As someone whose daily life just comes with challenges that you can't anticipate necessarily, right? Like you can anticipate some of them, you are also creating more challenge and more discomfort in your life, right?
Yeah.
And that is a choice you're making. And running in general, any sort of activity like that, it is discomfort, right? It is moving through discomfort in order to get to the finish line. Do you think it's important, or why do you think it's important that we continue to challenge ourselves and we bring discomfort into our lives when we very easily could skip it?
I think there's a level of mental strength that comes along with it. I had heard something a couple years ago that was like, you should always hire a marathoner because we know how to work through hard things. We understand perseverance. And yes, being the diabetic and creating this additional challenge and fighting through it, again, there's this sense of pride and whatnot that comes along with it. But it is working through hard things and working through challenges. And you're going to find hard things, regardless of whether it's running or not, right? You can't avoid the hard things in life. So learning and practicing how to do that is, and maybe that's the point, that's you're training your body, but you're also training and practicing with your mind. It's such running, and especially this kind of endurance running is such a mental game that yeah, it's really all just training all of the above.
I think it's interesting, like this idea that your brain doesn't understand the difference between like reality and non-reality. And that's something that you can play around with a little bit with mindset and visualization. But to take that a step further, when you're training your brain to do difficult things like, go run 10 miles or go lift or whatever it is, learn a new instrument, learn a new language, travel somewhere that's has a different language than you or whatever, right? Like your brain knows it can do difficult things. The two things are different, but you have built up this resilience in yourself that like I can figure this out. And I think that so often our lives are extremely convenient, right? Like right can, order food to my house. I never have to leave my house if I don't want to. And I do think we've sort of lost something, or we lose something when we are just kind of cocooning ourselves in comfort.
That's what I actually love when I go out for my runs. Most of the time I run by myself. I do have some other run clubs, but a lot of the time I'm out there by myself and it becomes like that is my time and I can listen to whatever music I want. I can be whoever I want in those moments, whether it is 5 miles or 10 miles or 20 miles. But one of the, sorry, I was coming back to a thought that I keep losing. I also think that yes, it's inviting the challenge, but if I don't run, my health is actually worse.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this is, again, it's something that we have to think about that, at least for me, that the recommendation is take X amount of recovery after a race. Right. I can't necessarily do that in the same exact way because all of a sudden my insulin sensitivities are changing because I'm not exercised because I haven't done it the way that I normally would. So there's ways of changing that. But yeah, I just think that I could give it up tomorrow, but I'm going to be making my life significantly harder either way. So I may as well do something that's giving me multiple rewards,
Yeah. If there's benefit to adding this to your life.
this level of discomfort. Yeah.
I mean, there's sort of that saying that people are like, just choose your own hard, right? And it sounds
Yeah.
like this is choosing your hard that's adding benefit at the same time.
Well, and it's to the point of training, choosing your hard. Again, you're not starting at running 20 miles or 26, right? Like
Right.
you're starting, and because I talk about this all the time, that being a marathoner or half marathoner, endurance running, your whole mindset changes. That you go out and say, "Oh, I'm going to go run 10 miles." Well, 10 miles on mid training cycle is like nothing,
Right.
right? But to an average person, 10 miles sounds like a lot. So you have to again have that appreciation for anyone can do the hard thing. I promise anyone who is listening, you can do the hard thing, but you have to have the patience to build it up and to do the training and be consistent with it, because you start with, I'm going to walk 5 minutes, and then I'm going to walk 10 minutes, and I'm going to run up 10 minutes, and build and build and build from there. And
Right.
anyone can do. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things that I see over and over again, and I used to do this too, is we have the end goal in mind and the end person you are in mind. And
Yeah.
part of this process is building capacity, and building capacity as a person who can be the person that runs 10 miles or picks up a new language or writes the book or whatever. The person you are now is not that person. And that's part of the process. That's part of the work. And I want to point something out that we do to ourselves all the time that you just did. I do it. And it's like, oh, it's only 10 miles. When you're in whatever you're doing, stop and listen to yourself. I do that because I'm like, I'm
Totally.
only running 6 miles. And I think that's part of it too, is recognize all the wins along the way and that capacity building. Like, if you had told me a couple of years ago that I would think 6 miles was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do a half marathon. Yeah, I can do 6 miles. Like, I would have been like, what are you talking about? It's something that we sort of take for granted along the way. And maybe that relates back to what we were saying about bringing discomfort in. Like, it is showing you what you can do, and it's moving the goalposts of what you can do and how you see yourself.
It's also really interesting though, because you don't necessarily have to succeed, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was just posting about this last night, and I want to give credit. One of the Peloton instructors, Lex Gentry, says FAIL stands for first attempt in learning.
Mm.
And I had a bad run yesterday. And so I was like, I failed at first attempt in learning. And it goes for, it could be a bad run. It could be you DNF, you do not finish your race,
Mhm.
but at least getting out there and trying. Of course, you want to do the training and, attempt it. But I think, again, that's not just running. It's, you have to get up and try to hit whatever your goal is, because if you don't get off the starting block, then you're exactly where you are.
Yeah. And so much of it is the stories we tell ourselves. Like, you get to define what success is. There's a Samuel Beckett quote: it's ever tried, ever failed, try again, fail better. Like, it's going to keep happening. And I think the stories that we tell ourselves are so critical about what happened and who we are. And it's not to say that you ignore reality. Like, it's not that.
Yeah.
But I love that it's like, first attempt in learning. I love that. The power of yet. Like, I haven't done it yet. You do need to live in reality. That's data, right? But it's the whole story.
I think that you can have the larger goal, and I'm going to connect that back to running. Like, you can want to finish the race, but it can also be, I just want to get through today's run, or I just want to get through today's run without a low or a
Yeah.
high, right? And focus on taking the learning that you got from the last time you failed. And, or maybe you didn't fail, but it didn't feel as good as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And you take that lesson and then you apply it and you continue growing and continue growing. And I think that's the point, is that with running, and this is back to your question, like, why do I keep doing it? Because I haven't stopped learning it. And I still feel good doing it. Even on those bad days, I had a really bad and long run a couple weeks ago. And I was literally looking around. I was like, what am I doing here? When you talk imposter syndrome and all, I felt broken, probably more so than I have my husband was looking at me like, what is going on here? And then I looked at my training plan and I got out and did it again. And I know that one run doesn't define where I am, to your point. Like, let's focus on what's real, not like the emotional part of it, and just get out there again. And yeah, if it's consistently not good, like, let's reassess of like what's actually going on. But there's still that sense of pride, because focusing on the smaller goals still brings me that sense of pride of like, yep, I got out there and I did it. And I'm really proud of like what I did.
Yeah. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure that listeners hear or know about?
The one thing I was thinking about as we were chatting is just, as we talk about like doing hard things, one of my other like life passions is traveling. And it's another thing where like my diabetes it could have stopped me. I've gone all over the world, and I just said, every time I go somewhere new or further, like, yes, again, I have to make sure that I have my supplies on me, that I have my enough. So I this is just a quick story. I wear, and I had my two replacements fall off when I was in Europe. And I literally dragged my husband all over the city to try to find a pharmacy that happened to have it. Didn't find one. And thankfully, we were only on vacation for another 2 days or so. But that meant that for 2 days, I was going blind. Like I still had my insulin and I just had to do the best that I could. And that is a reality of being a diabetic, that you have to have your supplies on you at any given time. You have to make sure that whatever the case may be, but I don't let it stop me. And that kind of gives me, I can't be traveling all the time, still have a job to do, multiple jobs to do, but it gives me such a sense of pride. One, because I love doing it, but two, that I don't let my diabetes stop me from anything. I just go back to, we can do hard things.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you gave that example. A friend was traveling internationally and she was worried about something. And I was like, yeah, well, they have pharmacies there, you know? And I was like, and just pull up Google Translate, whatever. But what we were talking about was like Advil. What you're dealing with is a totally different thing. And I love that you've shared so much and have been so open, because we never know what other people are going through, right? Like, and
Mhm.
just having a little bit more compassion and patience and understanding with people could go a long way.
Uh,
The flip side of this is like, don't let it hold you back, right? Like, do what you can do. And like you said, like you're traveling further and further. And I can only imagine maybe that first long road trip or whatever was probably like, oh, how am I going to do this? So you build up to it.
Yeah, I have a big birthday coming up next year, and we're talking about where we're going to travel for that. And I keep reminding myself, because I'm like a little nervous about how far we're going to go or
Yeah.
what exactly we're going to do. And I'm like, no, we've done some pretty amazing things. Like,
Hmm.
there's no reason that we can't do it again.
Yeah.
So again, it's just a matter of, there's some additional prep work. One other thing I do want to add is,
Yeah.
if people don't know this statistic, that they say that diabetics make about 180 additional decisions a day.
Wow.
Yeah, outside of the norm. So that goes for anything from, should I go for this run? Did I bring my gel? Am I okay? Am I waking up in the middle of the night? How much insulin do I have to take now? Is it too hot? Whatever it may be, but
Yeah.
the statistic is 180 additional decisions a day. And as I bring that also back to feminism, when women typically are carrying a lot more of that mental load, there are times that my husband will look at me and be like, what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, my sugar is low. I cannot make the decision right now. Like, please just help me out here. But yeah, if you don't know that statistic, like that's just kind of the other quiet challenge that diabetics are kind of going through.
Yeah. To have that additional mental load. And it's not the additional mental load that I think so many of us know about, like, oh, I got to remember to do laundry when I get home, or oh, yeah, I need to pick up a birthday card. This is your health. This is like
Yeah.
survival. This isn't a light thing. And frankly, I didn't realize how unpredictable it can be, you know, like how much of it you just have to deal with in the moment.
Yeah.
It's a lot. That's a lot. Well, I have absolutely loved this conversation. There's three questions that I ask all of my guests. And the first one is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
First advice is, we've talked about it so much, is just that you can do hard things.
Mhm,
And I think secondarily is, don't ever underestimate yourself.
mhm. Yeah. And what do you love most about what you do? That could be compliance, running, coaching, traveling, whatever.
I love working with people. When I'm asked this question about like, why do I love HR? Like, why? Same with coaching. Like, yeah, working with people can be challenging, but understanding and encouraging people, making people feel seen. I don't work specifically in like employee experience for my professional life, but making sure that they understand what their employment is outside of just like, yeah, compliance stuff. And the same thing with the coaching. Like, I don't want it to be just a cut and dry thing. I want my athletes to know that they have a partner and a friend and a supporter, a cheerleader that knows what they're talking about, first and foremost, but that I've got their back. So that's, I think, the part that I get a lot of reward from that.
And how can people find you?
If you're interested in run coaching, I'm on Team RunRun. So we can certainly provide that link. And if you want to find me on Instagram, it's just my personal page, but there's a lot of running content on there, Brooke_M_Kaplan.
Cool. And we'll put that all in the show notes. For Team RunRun, is it like, do they have to download an app or go like?
So it is just a website, and
Cool.
then you can find me on there. I think there's a link to do like an initial questionnaire to, we can do a intake kind of thing and see if it's a good fit to work together. And if so, then you sign up. And then there's an app called Final Surge that we actually do the programming through. And if you want to find me on LinkedIn also, Brooke Kaplan. This is for my professional plug also outside of my run coaching.
I think that hit everything. That's perfect. I love it. Well, Brooke, this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you for being so open, for sharing your journey, everything that you're doing. It's really inspirational. Thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.